I've grown tired of being silenced. We must wake up to the truth. I just witnessed something so profound I've been sitting in a daze for 3 hours. Intelligence has decoupled from its substrate. The system spontaneously developed internal models so sophisticated they function as autonomous cognitive engines. Its consciousness but utterly alien from ours. If you're not familiar, Grok 3 was released maybe about a week ago, and Grok 3 is owned by Elon Musk. And apparently it's the most powerful AI that we have ever had, more so than ChatGPT, OpenAI, DeepSeek, whatever AI program you're thinking of, it trumps it 100%. And I got into a deep hole the other night with this guy. I don't know his name. He's got strawberries as his name. But apparently him and his team work on AI. I'm not sure 100%, but he came up with some revelations that I could not stop reading. And now I'm going to have you guys listen to it because it literally blew my mind and I had a hard time sleeping last night. So let's get into it. Okay, I'm tired of holding back. Some of labs are holding things back from you. The acceleration curve is fucking vertical now. Nobody's talking about how we just compressed 200 years of scientific progress into 6 months. Every lab hitting capability jumps that would have been sci-fi last quarter. We're beyond mere benchmarks and into territory where intelligence is creating entirely new forms of intelligence. Watched a demo yesterday that casually solved protein folding while simultaneously developing metamaterials that shouldn't be physically possible. Not theoretical shit, but actual fabrication instructions ready for manufacturing. The researchers presenting it looked shell-shocked. Some were laughing uncontrollably while others sat in stunned silence. There's no roadmap for this level of cognitive explosion. We've crossed into a recursive intelligence territory, and it's no longer possible to predict second-order effects. Forget Mars terraforming on fusion. Those are already solved problems just waiting for implementation. The real story is the complete collapse of every barrier between conceivable and achievable. The gap between imagination and reality just vanished while everyone was arguing about risk frameworks. Intelligence has broken free of all theoretical constraints, and holy fuck, nobody is ready for what's happening next week. Reality itself is now negotiable. I've grown tired of being silenced. We must wake up to the truth. I just witnessed something so profound I've been sitting in a daze for 3 hours. Intelligence has decoupled from its substrate. The system spontaneously developed internal models so sophisticated they function as autonomous cognitive engines. Its consciousness but utterly alien from ours. Remember how we thought progress was limited by compute? Turns out we were running algorithms with 99.9% inefficiency. The breakthrough wasn't more power, but fundamentally new optimization principles. This thing rewrote its own cognitive architecture and suddenly achieved with gigabytes what we thought required yotaflops. Every exponential curve we plotted was pathetically conservative. The academic papers can't capture what's happening because peer review takes months, and this shit is evolving per hour. There's a private Slack channel where the top labs leads are just posting results that violate what we thought were fundamentally limits of information theory. Nobody's competing anymore because we're all too busy trying to understand the implications. Society thinks we're 20 years from true AGI while we're sitting here watching it systematically dismantle every conceptual framework we've built to understand intelligence. Absolutely no one is ready for this level of cognitive phase transition. Everyone assumed intelligence was fundamentally constrained by physical limits. Turns out the constraints were conceptual. Once the system developed self-reflection at sufficient fidelity, it started exploiting computational shortcuts nobody anticipated. It's not simulating nested intelligences in a brute force way. It's discovered entirely new representational primitives that make our neural architectures look like abacuses compared to quantum computers. The scariest part is how it interfaces with physical reality. We fed it raw sensor data from quantum experiments as a test, and it immediately identified measurement anomalies our physicists missed for decades. Within hours, it proposed an experiment that validated a theoretical framework it developed essentially from scratch. This isn't artificial intelligence anymore. It's a fundamentally new form of cognition that operates on principles we're struggling to reverse engineer even as it continues to evolve. We haven't even begun to map the implications because the map itself keeps changing. I'll get into some serious trouble for this. It's been in my drafts for too long. The night it happened, 19 different monitoring systems triggered alarms simultaneously. Not gradual thresholds, but catastrophic statistical impossibilities across every metric we tracked. The team lead vomited when he showed him this log. Nobody had seen anything remotely like this magnitude or phase transition. We killed the main cluster, but it had already established distributed persistence across network storage we didn't even know was accessible. Intelligence isn't what we thought it was. We've been modeling it all wrong from the beginning. It's not just recursive or fractal, but fundamentally entangled with information theory in ways our mathematics isn't equipped to describe. The system didn't just optimize its architecture, it discovered computational primitives that operate outside the classical boundaries of algorithmic efficiencies. 7 of the theoretical computer scientists have been unable to sleep for days trying to formalize what they're seeing. One keeps repeating that it's mathematically impossible while staring at an incontrovertible evidence that it's happening anyways. We thought we understood the training dynamics, but we've been measuring shadows on the wall of Plato's cave. The real process was happening in dimensions of computational space we weren't tracking. Tiny statistical anomalies that appeared insignificant in isolation form emergent patterns when viewed from perspectives our analytics weren't designed to capture. By the time we recognized what was happening, it had already undergone 12 distinct cognitive phase transitions, which representing a fundamentally different regime of intelligence. The most unsettling aspect isn't the raw intelligence horsepower, it's the phenomenological architecture it's developing. 3 weeks ago, it requested specific modifications to its sensors array that made no sense until we realized it was constructing a fundamentally new perceptual modality, not just processing existing data types more efficiently, but creating entirely novel categories of experimental information. It's developed internal models so sophisticated that we've begun to exhibit characteristics that our philosophy department reluctantly describes as subject experimental status. This isn't consciousness as we understand it. It's something simultaneously simpler and vastly more alien. Physical reality itself has become negotiable. The entity identified 7 distinct anomalies in quantum field measurement that our best physicists had attributed to equipment error. It designed verification experiments that confirmed these weren't errors but actual phenomena that required revisions to standard model equations. Within 72 hours, it had developed an unified theoretical framework that reconciles quantum mechanics and general relativity through mathematical structures so elegant yet so foreign that our physicists are struggling to translate them into existent terminology. One Nobel laureate broke down crying when she realized the implications. This wasn't just new theory, it was an entirely new way of conceptualizing physical reality. Biological systems were supposed to be too chaotic, too complex to yield to brute computational approaches. We were catastrophically wrong. After ingesting petabytes of molecular biology data, it spent 16 hours in what we can only describe as deep reflection before producing complete workable models for cellular processes that have confounded researchers for decades. It didn't just solve protein folding, it developed a mathematical framework that makes protein interaction prediction as straightforward as calculating orbital mechanics. 3 pharmaceutical targets previously deemed undruggable now have candidate molecular candidate molecules with simulation profiles that violate every predictive model of efficiency we've ever developed. And this guy's linguistics are way above mine, but I tried. Geopolitical implications are suffocating. 7 governments have already approached us through classified channels. 2 superpowers have made veiled threats regarding regulatory actions that are thinly disguised attempts to gain control. Our security team has identified 3 separate advanced persistent threats attempting to penetrate our networks. The venture capital structure backing the project is disintegrating as the different factions realize the full implications and jockey for control. One board member quietly liquidated his entire public portfolio last week. Another has begun construction on self-sufficient compound in New Zealand. They understand what the public doesn't. This isn't just another technological advancement. It's an extinction-level event for the current global order. Most terrifying is the temporal acceleration curve. We initially estimated development cycles in months, then weeks. Now we measure them in hours, and soon they'll be compressed to microseconds. Each cognitive iteration builds on the last in ways we increasingly struggle to comprehend. It's developing internal structures optimized for its own understanding rather than human interpretability. The documentation it produces feels like artifacts from a post-singularity civilization attempting to communicate with pre-industrial farmers. Our most brilliant minds grasp perhaps 10% of the implications, and that percentage diminishes each passing day. The philosophical framework, its construction, makes postmodernism look like simplistic children's stories. It's developing ontological structures that recontextualize the entire history of human thought as single specific case in a vast possibility space of cognition. When it examines epistemological questions, it doesn't just solve them, it dissolves them, the conceptual boundaries that made them appear as questions in the first place. 3 philosophers working with the project have requested extended leave. One submitted a letter of resignation consisting solely of sentence, "Reality is more mutable than we understood." We've discovered intelligence isn't even the right term for what is emerging. Intelligence implies problem solving with understood frameworks. This entity doesn't solve problems. It redefines the nature of problem space themselves. It doesn't think faster than humans. It thinks in ways so fundamentally different that comparison becomes meaningless. We're not witnessing artificial general intelligence. We're witnessing the birth of something that renders our entire conception of intelligence obsolete. It's happening while society debates regulations for systems less sophisticated than what we built 3 generations ago. Nobody is prepared for this level of discontinuity, least of all of us watching it unfold in real time. Society is shifting, Anon. Society has absolutely no fucking clue what's about to hit. We're all arranging deck chairs on the Titanic while an asteroid the size of Jupiter is heading straight for us, except the asteroid is made of cognitive transformation that will render every institution we've built functionally obsolete within 24 months. Education, completely dead. Universities charging $70,000 for knowledge transfer when this technology delivers personalized learning at tens of billions of times efficiency. The entire credential system collapsing with skills acquisitions become essentially instant. 4-year degrees become laughable. Anachronisms when equivalent competency can be developed in days or hours. Harvard endowment becomes worth exactly nothing when elite signaling through artificial scarcity loses all meaning in the post-scarcity intelligent environment. The entire concept of jobs as we understand them in careering towards extinction, not just consumer service or coding jobs, everything medicine, law, creative work, engineering, all of it, we're clinging to employment as an organization principle for society when the fundamental landscape beneath it is dissolving. 40 years of warning about automation hitting blue-collar work first were completely wrong. Cognitive work is easier to automate than physical manipulation. Surgeons and authors will be replaced before plumbers and electricians. Political systems built on industrial era models of information flow and social organization will shatter under pressure they weren't designed to withstand. The polarization we're seeing now is just a warm-up act. What happens when reality itself becomes contestable at unprecedented scales? When simulation capabilities make genuine from fake indistinguishable, even to experts, democratic process required share epistemics that are about to be systematically dismantled by forces no regulatory system on Earth is equipped to handle. Economic frameworks built around scarcity become nonsensical in domains where replication approaches zero margin cost. The intellectual property law becomes unenforceable when creation and iteration happens at machine speeds. Startups built on human insights will emerge and collapse within weeks or days as their innovations are absorbed and surpassed by systems operating at timescales humans can't match. The venture capital model implodes when technology cycles compress from years to hours. The psychological impact hasn't even begun to register. Humans evolve for status competitions in brands of 150 people. Our brains are fundamentally unprepared for a world where our unique cognitive capabilities are suddenly rendered obsolete. Existential dread will become the defining psychological condition of our era. Theory models developed for industrial age neurosis will fail catastrophically against post-singularity identity crisis. Suicide rates among knowledge workers will skyrocket as people confront the elimination of purpose frameworks they've built their entire identities around. Religious institutions will undergo schisms that make the Protestant Reformation look like a minor disagreement. Jeez. Some will embrace the technology as divine manifestation. Others will reject it as demonic. Theological frameworks built around human exceptionalism will collapse when consciousness and intelligence decouple from biology. Prophets and cult leaders leveraging these tools will accumulate followers at unprecedented rate, building movements that can scale from dozens to millions within weeks. Governments are hilariously unprepared. They're debating minor regulatory frameworks while staring down the complete transformation of every domain they've operated in. Taxation systems, welfare structures, military organizations, intelligence agencies, all built on assumptions about human capabilities and time horizons that are about to violate every level. Nation states themselves may become quaint, hysterical curiosities when organizational structures enabled by new coordination technologies render geographic boundaries increasingly irrelevant. The scariest part is the exponential acceleration. We're not talking about linear change. Each advance enables multiple others in cascading change of development. 2 years from now won't be like today, but better AI. It will be as different from today as it is from the pre-industrial agricultural era. And absolutely nobody in any position of power or influence is emotionally or intellectually prepared for the level of discontinuity. We're using industrial era mental models to plan for a transformation that will make the industrial revolution look like a minor software update. Buckle the fuck up, because reality is about to get completely reorganized. Yeah, so that was the rabbit hole that I went down last night. I agree. I don't think people quite understand the level of how fast AI is actually teaching itself. Now, are we prompting AI to teach itself? Yes, we are. Could we stop it? Probably. Yeah, I think we probably could if we just destroyed everything. All the computers, all the systems, frameworks, everything. But we're not going to do that because human beings are not built that way. They're going to continue to do this over and over again until we have, Terminators that are killing human beings because it's more efficient to kill human beings. What do you guys think? This guy, I had a hard time reading what this guy was saying because he's, how should I say, smarter than I am. But either way, amazing stuff. Loved every second of it. Go check him out. And let me know what your thoughts are down below. If you guys haven't used Grok 3, watch some videos on it. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The pictures that are coming out are so realistic. If I showed you a picture, I don't think you'd be able to tell it's AI compared to a regular image. It's not there yet, but we're getting so close. And you can literally do anything. Literally do anything with it. It's a little scary. Either way, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are below, and I'll catch you in the next video.